And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for September 22nd, 2020. Alright, let's get started with this Tropical Weather Bulletin tonight in the Eastern Pacific. You can see Lowell there, you can see Beta and Teddy there in the Atlantic. More information on those shortly. And you can see there Tropical Storm Dolphin in the Western Pacific. Relatively active tropics compared to normal, but for this time of year, it's normally a little more active than this around the world. And if you'd asked us a week ago, the Atlantic would have been absolutely on fire. At this point, looks like things are settling down a little bit. Not likely to last long though. Speaking of the Atlantic, let's get into that right now. You can see here Teddy, a Category 1 hurricane just off the coast of Bermuda. That's going to be heading towards Canada. We have Beta, which is dumping lots of rain on Texas right now. A weak tropical storm, winds of 45 miles per hour at this time. You can see there an area of interest near Florida that has a 20% chance of development within the next 5 days. And post-tropical cyclone Paulette's likely to redevelop here, probably at some point tonight or tomorrow morning, into a tropical depression or storm, could be subtropical as well. You can see all of those systems there. In the Eastern Pacific, things aren't quite as active, with Tropical Storm Lowell really taking the cake over there. Not an overly strong storm, but definitely something to be watching. Looks like there's a possibility it could become a minimal hurricane. A 70-mile-per-hour peak has currently been given by the National Hurricane Center. In the Western Pacific, we have 94W with a 20% chance of development within the next 5 days. We also have Tropical Storm Dolphin, which is heading near Japan. Could dump some rain, although it's not expected to become an overly strong storm. There was the possibility that it would become a minimal typhoon, but that possibility has diminished quite rapidly since earlier today. Well, in the northern Indian Ocean, there are no storms active. It's all quite here. Same thing in the southern Indian Ocean, and we even can see that heading into the Australian region. No systems going on there either, although this is probably going to change in the coming months. You can see no storms are active there in the southeastern Pacific either, southwestern Pacific, so nothing really going on there. Now let's take a look at Teddy, the most dangerous of the storms that we have going right now, a stage 6 on the CDPS scale for locations up there in Canada, near Nova Scotia, Sydney, Canada in particular, and Halifax could get this really badly. Again, this storm has winds of 90 miles per hour and a pressure of 958 millibars right now. Bizarrely enough, despite the weakening it has undergone, the National Hurricane Center is actually expecting, over the next 12 hours, some strengthening to occur into a 105 mile per hour Category 2 before the storm does begin to weaken as it becomes a post-tropical cyclone and heads into Canada. It's going to be dumping lots of rain, and it is going to be bringing strong winds to Canada as well, so it's going to be a dangerous storm nonetheless. It's going to be quite large. Comparisons to Hurricane Sandy's post-tropical transition have been weighed when it comes to Teddy. You can actually see that here. Teddy does look like it is really starting to fan out. It's a very large tropical cyclone, and you can actually tell by the pressure of 958 millibars it's been given with those winds of 90 miles per hour as well. Very impressive storm, to say the least, with some impressive convection. Definitely going to bring some serious impacts to Canada. Something to watch for sure. Alright, well, let's take a look at the North Atlantic wide shot. You can see there Teddy really overspreading the basin, becoming a larger and larger storm. You can see the remnants of Paulette swirling away just under the date there. Again, that could redevelop, and you can see that 20% area of interest, along with Beta, which isn't producing much convection, but is producing some heavy rainfall over Texas right now. So let's take a closer look at the Gulf of Mexico, that area of interest. You can still see it there, and you can also see Beta as it rubs against the Gulf of Mexico. Again, lots of rain falling with that. In the Eastern and Central Pacific, you can see a 10% area of interest just south of Hawaii, and you can also see there Lowell, which is not looking very great right now, sheer clearly driving convection to the south of that circulation there. So the storm is not overly strong right now. In the Western Pacific, we can see Dolphin here, which is an impressive looking storm. It's got a fair bit of convection that is going off over it right now. Although it should be noted here that the storm, again, is not expected to get up to typhoon strength at this time. Well, when it comes to sea surface temperatures, that's also looking quite nice. You can see there near where Dolphin is in the Western Pacific, quite nice temperatures. You can see in the Atlantic there, some pretty warm temperatures. You can see some upwelling from Teddy, but you can see the Western Caribbean in particular is primed for development. So we're going to be watching that very closely. You can see that overall for the rest of the world, sea surface temperatures fairly warm, but they're not going to be warm enough to support any development. Alright, well, let's take a look at those storm names. You can see there Arthur, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, Edward, and so on and so forth. We're into the Greeks in the Atlantic, and it looks like we could be going past Zeta by the time it's all said and done. It's going to be interesting for sure. You can see we're up to Lowell in the Eastern Pacific with no names used yet in the Central Pacific Ocean. You can see there in the Western Pacific, we're up to Dolphin right now, and you can see there we're up to that name in the Northern Indian Ocean, so we do start list 1. You can see that we're also up to Herald in the Australian names. We also do have Wasi there in the Fiji region generally. You can follow our outlets. First of all, the website, force13.com, with new articles coming out all the time for your reading pleasure about all things weather. YouTube.com/force13 with our tropical weather bulletins, animations, and tropical updates. You can also find us on Facebook with more information on those things. And then also on Twitter. We have the US branches and AU branches on there as well, but you can see the URL below. Teespring.com/store/force13. That's where you can find things like the Smug Mug to buy. And finally, the Patreon. Patreon.com/force13, where you can support the project and help it become even better.